Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our digital media analytics class. And in this video, we'll talk about Google Analytics reporting for apps. In the last meeting, we discussed introduction to Google Analytics, different type of reports, and we applied this to the case study of Google Merchandise Store. Today, we'll talk about apps and work on the case of a little puzzle strategy game called Flooded. Remember that the whole reason Google Analytics introduced this Google Analytics 4 version was that they wanted the analytics to be more tailored towards apps. There are a lot of similarities with website analytics, but there are several important differences. For each app, we start from looking into user acquisition, how many users this app attracts, and how, through which channels we attract these users. Then we'll look into user engagement and retention, because we don't want users to install our app and use it once. We want them to keep it on their devices and keep using it over time. Here we talk about such metrics as number of sessions, engagement events, time spent on the app, and user retention metrics such as monthly and weekly users. Because the longer users stay with us and the more engaged they are, the more they enjoy our app, the more likely they are to spend money with us. Engagement and retention directly lead to revenue. In the next video, we'll talk about monetization efforts. But first of all, I want to introduce this little puzzle strategy game called Flooded. This is a Google demo property with app analytics publicly available to everyone. We'll discuss all the metrics for this game in this video, and this game, this case study, will be your homework this week. When you go on App Store, be it Google Store, Apple iStore, search for Flooded, and you'll see this little game, along with other organic and paid search results. When you start the game, it starts with this start screen, main menu, to choose game mode. Try to fill the screen with certain color. And when you run out of steps, run out of attempts, it will offer you to buy extra steps. This is their main product, extra steps for the game, before arriving in the game over screen. I strongly encourage you to download and play with this game for a couple minutes, just to familiarize yourself with different screens and events and actions that users can take in the game. It will make it much easier for you to understand all the metrics we discussed. You can access Flooded Analytics property from the Google demo screen. The link is available in the slide deck and also in the video for Google demo account attached. Essentially, when you click on the link, you will land on this Google demo account page. Scroll beyond the video, and you see these three links. In the last meeting, we discussed Google Merchandise Store case. Today, we're talking about Flooded Analytics property. Remember that to log in, you might want to use your personal Google account rather than university one, because university account might not have access to demo accounts, unfortunately. And when you land on the account, check out which property are you looking at right now, which is visible at the top left corner of the screen. Right here, I am on at GA4 flooded property with all the metrics. And the reports we're discussing in this video, all of them are accessible in the slide out menu at the left part of the screen. Hover your mouse over there and you see all the reports. The first report, which is only available for apps rather than for websites, is a real-time report, which demonstrates number of users in the last 30 minutes. If you just installed the app and used it, your usage will show up right here, as well as geographical distribution of users, and a quick snapshot of all the reports, including user acquisition and user action. App-specific report is called Firebase, and it's focused on some of the technical parameters, such as app stability, which percentage of users do not experience freezes or crashes on the app. Here in the left bottom corner, you can see that iOS version of this little game is very stable, while Android one has some problems. 0.2% of all crashes, that's not a small number. It also shows us the app version, the operating systems our users have on their devices, right here in the top right corner, Android versus iOS users, and engagement time. For how long are they using our app? A little bit over 8 minutes per session. Finally, the bottom right graph shows user activity by cohort. Cohort includes all the users acquired in a specific week who started using the app in a specific week. Here you can see that 100% of the users we acquired this week are still using the app because the week didn't end yet, while only 2% of users acquired 5 weeks ago still have this app on their devices. How do these users get there? How did they end up having this app? It turns out that most of them came from search, paid or organic search, as well as from paid ads. This list of acquisition channels has some familiar sources, but notice that search here is not like Google search engine search. This is the app store search within the app store, which can be organic or paid. And cross-network here refers to the ads, mostly display ads, which have been served to users on other advertising networks other than Google Ad Network. It can be a Trade Desk or some other advertising, maybe Apple Ad Network as well. Total, they acquired 46,000 new users in the last 28 days. When users arrived to the app and installed it, we want them to use it as often and as long as possible, right? Because if they are engaged, if they like our app and spend a lot of time on it, we'll be able to serve them more ads and get some advertising revenue. And also, if they like our app, they're more likely to buy additional in-game items. Unfortunately, for this little game, it only has 8 minutes of engagement time, or 1.8 engaged session per user. So in a month, average user only uses it 1 or 2 times. But what counts as an engagement session and engaged user? It depends on user actions and events. What users can do in the app. And that is a little different from events we track on web analytics. Some of the events typical for mobile app include app start. You'd be surprised how many users download an app but never launch it. So the first launch of the app is an important event to track. And as soon as the app is launched, each app consists of several screens, several parts with actions available for users on each screen. For example, here, typical for mobile games, most of the time and most of the sessions users spend on the game board. That is the screen where the game is happening, the playing process, game board. And the second most often and most frequently visited screen is a game over screen, when the game is over. There we offer users to buy extra steps, so they land on shop menu, which is also one of the most popular screens in our app. Other important events which keep user engagement and reflect user engagement include number of level starts and ends. We want users not just open the game, but actually play it. Start and end levels. Those are key important events for us. Level start and level end. The more engaged users are, the more often they would use our product, our app. And this frequency of usage is reflected by the number of daily, weekly, and monthly users. How many users has opened our app in a certain day, in a certain week, in a certain month? If our app is very useful, very engaging, they would be opening it daily throughout the month. That means that number of daily users would be almost equal to monthly users. That ratio between daily and monthly users is called the stickiness ratio. And that reflects how successfully app retains the users. DAU to MAU, daily to monthly user ratio. Right here in the bottom right screen, you can see the ratio, which is around 5% for this app. The good benchmark for DAU MAU stickiness ratio would be around 20 to 50%, depending on the type of the app. If you look here, the apps with the highest stickiness ratio are typically apps like news, sports related, and weather related. One could wonder why. Because they have something new going on in the app every day. New sports events, and political and economical news, weather updates keep users opening them daily. While dating or photo and video editing apps typically have quite low stickiness ratio. User stickiness and user engagement directly linked to app revenue. If you look at this graph on the right, it shows a relationship between probability of in-game purchases, probability that users will buy from us, and their engagement level. The more engaged they are, the more likely they buy in-game items. That's why engagement reports is directly linked to revenue. And in the next video, we'll discuss monetization, how apps can make money and how we can track it on Google App Analytics.